raised to believe that if I don't have any symptoms, I'm healthy. I was just getting groceries out of my car. I bent over when I was picking up a 5-pound plate in the gym, and then my back went out. So if the frontal's turned off, we're going to feel less safe. We're going to feel less supported. We're going to start to tell ourselves a story that we're less supported or things aren't good or whatever it is. That it's developmentally how we were designed, which is why the emotions get stored where they store. And shoulders are different than neck, than different than low back, than knees, etc. You have to be aware that, oh, I didn't actually hurt I'm not jacked up, number one. Two, I didn't hurt my low back wake surfing. It's actually because I was thinking about finances for like literally 24 hours straight. Just like, what do I need to do? How do I do it? And God's trying to wake me up and be like, hey dude, let's send a pain signal there so you can literally stop the thought process that's sabotaging you. The less financial security someone has, the more likely they are to have low back pain. And guess what? If you are one of those people who has massaged, foam rolled, done acupuncture, seen chiropractors, done the PT route, and nothing seemed to work, it's because you haven't actually addressed the problem, which is what's happening to your brain when you think certain thoughts. Your low back pain has nothing to do with the low back. It actually has everything to do with a very specific mindset that you have. And in this episode today, I want to break down exactly how you can break the mindset that's causing your low back pain, how you can start to address the root cause of the issue that you or your family members may be facing so that you can get back to ultimately enjoying life full out. I swore that I would never do an episode about low back pain, and here we are talking about it because I've had so many instances that have come up over the course of the last few weeks, and it starts with a conversation about financial security.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
For so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's going to be an exact framework. If you don't follow this or you're skeptical that this works or that this is true, I just want to speak from the heart real quick and just share that, like, how many times have we seen this in practice?
Oh, I think
95% of the time. Yeah. Everybody has the thing where they're like, I was just getting groceries out of my car, or I bent over when I was picking up a 5-pound plate in the gym, and then my back went out. And even like this weekend, my brother was like, I had a rib pop out. And I'm like, that's not what happens. And I actually snapped on my brother. I was like, dude, if you listen to any of these videos that I talk about, you would understand why that's actually not true. And it's stress and you drinking and putting stress in your system. All the stuff that we're going to talk about.
He was very stressed in that moment, by the way, too.
Very stressed. Why? Oh, yeah, he was stressed in that moment because of the dog thing. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. What is mid-back?
I don't know.
Get off my back. Like the monkey on your back, the heavy backpack. So he asked me to adjust him, but that's a whole other thing. And I was like, there's more to it because it has to do with your stress. So I want to talk specifically about low back pain because I would love for you to, just from your perspective and like the little bit that I shared with you, this weekend, Heather and I were at the lake. It was 4th of July weekend. Mm-hmm. And we took Coco. We were in this lake in Alabama. It's called Smith Lake. It's beautiful. If you ever get an opportunity, check it out. It's freaking amazing. The water is like 85 degrees, not exaggerating one bit.
And very clear.
Very clear. Mm-hmm. It was so fun. We had an absolute blast. Mm-hmm. But leading up to the trip, I had like my SI joint was bothering me a little bit. And we could just say, if you don't know what SI joint is, you could just lump it in with low back. It's fine. But share just kind of like where you saw I was on the couple days that we were there. Because I had one day where I felt completely fine, no pain at all. Mm-hmm. And then I was complaining another time to you. So just kind of like, so you can kind of set the frame for people of like, hey, here's where he was. Here's where I saw him based on what was going on with my low back.
Oh, sure. I mean, you forgive me, but you were complaining a decent amount for you. You were just complaining about your low back hurting like a good amount.
Like every single step that I was taking.
Yeah. And you were walking like an old person.
Yep. And
very slow to move. And I saw you stretching in the corner a couple times, trying to quote unquote release your low back.
Yeah. Trying to loosen up my slip disc or whatever was going on. So I said in the beginning, like, what people usually think of. So this could have been the traditional approach, right? So most people would be like, oh, well, I must have wakeboarding or wake surfing. Mm-hmm. I must have like done something to my low back.
Or we were staying at a different house in a very small bed.
And a very small bed that did the taco when Heather got into it. So we were like literally rolled on top of each other. And I move a lot when I sleep anyway. So like the sheets didn't stay on the bed well. There's just a whole bunch of stuff. It was not ideal sleeping arrangements. But meanwhile, Coco had the most comfortable bed.
It was
super firm, but it was a twin.
It was very small too.
So there,
yeah.
she's like, "Can you sleep with me?" And I'm like, "There's no chance you and I are sleeping in that bed
As
together."
she's sideways in the bed.
So yeah, like that's a good point. Is that most people blame, oh, it's my mattress, or oh, it's because I was wakeboarding. Oh, I must have been sitting
Sitting on the plane.
driving the hour drive that we had after we flew 5+ hours to get to Alabama. Like whatever. There's all these excuses, right?
Right.
I am here to tell you that none of them are true, even for me. So this is what's crazy. I teach people this every single day inside of practice. And yet still, I'm trying to think about, man, what did I do?
You literally kept saying in your head, like, oh, what did I physically do that made this happen? But I knew that wasn't the case.
Yeah, you knew it wasn't the case because you hear me all the time ask people the other questions. So then this is what's so magical is like the teacher gets to become the student because we're like resting on the little lily pad in the sun. And what'd you ask me?
Oh, I said, where do you not feel supported? Or like, what are you thinking about financially?
So this is crucial to understand is that low back has to do everything emotionally with financial stress. And it doesn't have to be a lack of finances, but financial stress and not feeling supported. So you asked me this beautiful question. You're like, where are you stressing about finances or where do you not feel supported?
Right.
And my answer was like, I don't really know. But upon further examination in our conversation, which was actually a really cool conversation, it was fun to talk about. What do you want to share what I shared with you?
You can go.
Yeah. So like the basic thing was we get to this beautiful, like insane, this place is just insane.
Yeah.
And
so what we talked about on the last episode, but like, let's just describe this place because it was pretty amazing.
Well, you go and I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, it's like a 7-bedroom house. First off, it had 3 stories, full kitchen on the main level and in the basement.
2 full kitchens.
Like legit, absolutely everything that you need within the kitchen. Like big grand piano in the living space, like the acres that the man had, like was huge. There was a waterfall on the property. He had a pickleball court. He had the largest dock on the lake.
Yeah.
It was like 2 stories. It had 2 boats. One of those boats was almost a $300,000 boat. Jet skis, like all the toys for water sports you can think of. He had his own arcade room in a separate side house.
Pinball machines,
foosball,
like
real
hockey,
arcades,
pool table, movie theater, wet bar.
He had a huge gym in the garage.
Did you know, this is the craziest part. So, it gets super hot. I don't think you knew this because you probably wouldn't know because you didn't go out there. But so the gym is in a 4-car garage. And there's also a full ping pong table in there just to kind of get a sense of how massive it was.
Plus all the equipment.
What's the other, like that game that has the sand on the board and you like slide it? It's not shuffleboard. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
It's like a bar shuffleboard.
It's like a bar game that you like slide little things and there's sand. Anyway, whatever that game is called.
Yeah, it's long.
It's long.
Really
so
long,
just giving you a sense of like how big this place is. And then he has 15-foot paddle boards that can stand straight up and there's still like 5 feet of ceiling. So there's like 20-foot ceilings in this garage. But the reason I'm sharing it is because that 4-car garage was completely air conditioned too.
Oh, I didn't spend much time.
So when I was putting the paddle boards away on Sunday or Saturday, I'm like, why is it so cold in here? And I realized like, oh, this is fully air conditioned.
Yeah.
Like full on air conditioned. So anyway.
And then right outside that, full basketball court.
Full basketball court.
Anyway, this place was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Huge.
And the guy doesn't charge for people to stay there. No. He just lets his friends and family stay there for free.
It's such a blessing.
So it was a gift to say the least. But my thought process, because this is how I do it, I start thinking about like, how could we create this?
Instead of feeling blessed.
Instead of feeling grateful. I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Like I suck as a business owner. How do we do this? I want to be able to take the team to, like, this is literally what I thought of. I'm like, dang, dude, how do we get like our team to come to our lake house and then like have something like this where we can just let people stay there?
Right.
Like, how can we do this? I'm not doing enough. Mind you, this guy's 70, who we didn't get to meet, but apparently has amazing testimony.
It's a cool story.
This place is beautiful to say. And there's like, what was funny, people on the lake literally slow driving by and like pulling way in. And they're like, we had to check out the waterfall. We had to check out the garden.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. So back to the story,
Yes, yeah.
you asked me, where do you not feel supported or where are you stressing about finances? And while there was no stress about finances in the moment, I'm starting to think about like, well, how can we grow the business? What do we need to do? What do I need to do? Where am I not enough? Where do I suck? What could I be doing better? All these questions, all these thought processes. And so the first day I was pretty good. The second day I woke up and I'm like miserable every single step that I take. Squatting to get up and down to like toss the rope when we're wakeboarding, riding on the jet ski, picking up cocoa, jumping off the thing, swimming every time I would kick my right leg, like all of it hurt.
Yeah.
And what I realized, I was just stressing about finances. And I'll break down the framework and I'll explain why here in a little bit of exactly why low back pain would show up as financial stress or financial support. So then the solution was like, you literally had to walk me through these questions to make me realize that, I didn't do something wakeboarding. It wasn't from sitting on the plane. It wasn't from sitting in the car. It wasn't the seat in the Jeep or the bed that we slept in.
Right.
It was literally the stress that I had in my own mind.
You were creating.
That I was creating with my own brain and physiologically wrecking my system, which I will share the exact process in a moment, that led to a place where my body put itself in a pain pattern in an attempt to get me to pay attention so I would stop
stressing about
finances, nothing.
Yeah.
Even though there's nothing.
It had nothing to do with our finances. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's crazy. So I see this all the time. And what I wanted to, like, that's my example, right? So even somebody who teaches this every day to clients, I had 2 people yesterday come in, one of which lays on the table. This is towards the end of the day, and I'm adjusting her. And the conversation, well, she laid down, and as soon as she laid down, she's like, oh man, I like really feel my low back. And she was feeling quite a bit of pain, which she never came in for low back pain in the first place. It was all other stuff she had going on. And she's saying this, and pretty quickly I just got this sense of like, you're either doing a remodel on your house or you're buying something. And she's like, yeah, we're redoing all of our furniture. And I'm like, that's because, so it totally made sense. Financially, you just made this big commitment to not just buy a dining room table, but all the furniture for, I think, your whole living room. And there was some other work that she was going to do in her house too.
Right.
And that even though they have the finances and the money to do it, it was a thought in the back of her head, which was triggering a stress response, which then triggers a pain response.
Yeah.
And this happens time and time and time again. So I always remind people when I have this conversation is that it doesn't matter whether you have the money or not. Like, you could have a bank account full of money. We've taken care of people. One of like a client who we used to take care of before they moved, they would regularly book events and pay like these down payments for these hotel spaces, hotel blocks that are like $1 million plus. And when they would do them, they would inevitably come in and be like, my low back, I think I was doing deadlifts, or I think I was doing the leg press machine. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because if that was the issue, that would be the issue all the time. And instead, what we find is that you were just going to write a big check. And that stress of finances, even though you have the finances, still can trigger a stress response and then a pain response in the body. Yeah. And it shows up as low back pain. And I'll explain why in a moment. It shows up as low back specifically when we talk about feeling unsupported or this like financial stress or thought process.
Is the feeling unsupported part also like relational, or is it like, how does that work for people that don't know anything about
Yeah, that's a great question. So it can 100% be relational. So if the example I give a lot is like, we take care of quite a few moms whose husbands are firefighters. And they tend to be gone a lot because they have crazy hours, especially in California. Like if there are fires, sometimes people are just on call. And if mom feels like she's taking it all on or doing the primary role and she's doing a ton of work and doesn't feel supported in that, that will show up as back pain too.
Yeah.
It could also be the fact that if like as a business owner, I've had this in the past where I felt like I was doing everything because I couldn't delegate anything. And then I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm taking it all on, but I never ask anybody to help me. But that frustration in the back of my head will show up as back pain.
Yeah.
And there's a very specific physiological, embryological, neurodevelopmental process as to why the emotions of stress of finances and support get stored in the low back specifically, which I'll get into after we run through the framework.
Okay.
So did that answer the question?
Yep.
Any other questions before we jump into like, all right, if you can agree then that your low back pain is not because you were getting the groceries out of the car, it wasn't because you didn't stretch enough, it isn't just because you have tight hamstrings, like the low back thing is a symptom of a greater cause, and that greater cause is stress in the nervous system. But where does the stress in the nervous system come from? From the thoughts that you think. And that's key. That's a story with me. That's a story with the other 2 clients' stories that I shared. I could share tons of others because we see it happen all the time.
Yeah.
95% of the time, it's not from an injury. It's from downstream effect of stress and thought process. And what we see on an x-ray and what we see on an MRI is often just a symptom of stress that happens from the thoughts that we think.
Because you didn't address the emotional thought process.
Yeah. And most people are never trained to. So this is what I want to train people up on today. And this is going to be the biggest payoff for you, because ultimately it makes you not dependent on anybody. I would still argue always, like, getting adjusted. Obviously, we're never going to avoid stress completely in our lives. So getting adjusted is key, but that's not the point of this episode. It's just to say that, like, once you have a framework for addressing the stress in your system and addressing your mindset specifically, you can start to change how your body feels. And I can give you evidence of this time and time again, where I've literally sat with someone. I said, hey, where are you experiencing stress inside of your life? Just like you did with me. Where are you stressing about finances, or where do you feel unsupported? As soon as they identify it, they come back and they're like, back pain completely gone.
Yeah.
Hip pain completely gone.
Shoulder.
Knee pain, shoulder pain, neck pain completely gone. It just completely disappeared. My jaw pain's gone. Not because we did something magical with them, but we allowed them to bring in awareness. And when they change the way they think, everything changes, including the physiology. And I'll break all that sciencey down stuff in a second. So here's the framework. First thing you have to do, you have to become aware. I said it on the last episode of the podcast. Where do I feel? So for back pain specifically, there's emotions for every joint in the body. Shoulders are different than neck. I'm just going to talk about low back pain today, though. Where do I feel unsupported? That is number one. So if your number one step should be to gain an awareness of where do I feel unsupported, or where do I feel stuck financially? Case in point, I just shared my story with you. Heather, even though I teach this to people every day inside of the practice, you literally had to ask me that question to get me there. And what happened? I woke up the next day, completely no issues at all.
Yeah.
Like none, which is wild. So where do I feel unsupported? That's step number one. Step number two, you have to identify the false story. So what's the story that you're telling yourself about the situation that's not true? And the way I kind of do it is like this. Okay, if I felt like business wasn't doing good enough, and that's my awareness of like, where do I feel unsupported, or where do I feel stuck financially? It's like, okay, we could say Nexus isn't growing. And I'm just using this as an example. Then my next question is going to be, what's the story I'm telling myself? Well, I'm not good enough. We're never going to grow. We're always going to be stuck here. I'm never going to be able to produce something like this to be able to just like share with family and friends. Whatever the story is, right? So that's the false story. But is that 100% true is the question that comes within that. And the answer is no. Like, we don't know that anything's 100% true or not true. So then the next step is to identify, like, all right, if the story's not true, that opens up a possibility for a different reality or a different story that you could potentially tell yourself. If I say, okay, so is it true that Nexus is stuck? No, 100% not true. So is the story I'm telling myself true? No. Then the next step is I have to give myself a new potential for a new reality or new story. So I have to replace, step number 3 is replace the old story with something new.
Yeah.
We could be in a transition. It could be a million different things. For me, it was just the realization, like the replacement of the story is that you just turned 40 years old. Like, I was talking to my uncle, he's 56. So I'm thinking in terms of time frame, what if I gave myself 16 more years to do that than what we're doing today?
Yeah, because
would
they
life
just
look
got
differently?
their second home like last year,
Yep.
2 years ago.
Exactly. And so it's always one of these things where like you kind of just feel like you're behind. And so for me, as I was wrapped up in this whole story, it's like I'm behind and I'll never be able to do this. And then I had to replace that with, well, what if you had 16 more years? Because you do have 16 more years. You have more than that.
Right.
And what could you do you've been in practice for 7.5 years. What could you do in another 16 years? A lot. Like unfathomable, right? Of what could happen or where it could go, because God has grace and mercy and love and all those things. So what's actually true? And then who would I be? I think this is an important question too, is who would I be without the old story? who would I be without that? Because if you've heard of the concept of be, do, have,
Right.
you have to become something different in order to do the thing that will allow you to have what you want to have in the first place. So who would I be without the old story? And then how would that direct my actions in a different way? So instead of stressing about finances, I would probably just wake up and work and not feel like I'm unworthy. Or what we talked about before, what's the lie? You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. Why even try? Right? And then the last step is you reclaim your physiology. So the way that you reclaim your physiology is you're like, now that I know what the false story is, so I have an awareness, I identified what the false story is, I told myself that it's not true, I replace the old story with a new story, and then the question is like, okay, what does my body want me to do now? Like in my physical body, do I feel different? And a lot of times people will. Sometimes it takes a night of rest in order to fully get there.
Sure. Allow your brain to shut off.
Yep, brain to shut off. We know that that's when the brain makes most of its connections anyway while we're sleeping. So then what does my body and what does my physiology want me to do now? And that's just kind of tuning back into the system. Sometimes it's go for a walk. I literally had this where it's like, hey, we even had the conversation and I think I felt better right after. And it was like, jump in the water again and swim. And I swam and I was like, oh, kicking my leg doesn't bug me anymore. It's just wild how quick that can happen. So what does my body want me to do now that I feel safe and supported? Because remember that low back is associated specifically with support or lack of support or stress of finances specifically. Yep. That's a framework. Become aware, identify the false story, replace it with a new story, and then what does my body need from me now? Simple.
Yeah.
4 steps to reclaim what you are feeling in your physical body. And you can do this with any joint in the body. Specifically, though, low back is associated with finances and support.
Yeah. And this can be used as a provider with educating and teaching your clients and as just like a regular person.
So that's part of why I'm sharing this is because if you're tired of chasing people's symptoms and being the doctor who every time the person comes in, they say, oh, my low back again. And you're adjusting it and you're doing everything you've been trained to do in chiropractic school and you've been training in all the techniques and you've done all the technique seminars and you still feel like you're stuck chasing people's low back pain, chasing people's shoulder pain, chasing people's stuff. This framework is a framework that you can share with your clients. And if you have the identity wrapped up enough to literally just have authentic, genuine conversations with people, then you will start to watch their lives transform.
Well, yeah, you're changing also the identity of every single person that walks in your doors too as a provider. Yeah,
because then you stop. This is what most people do. And this will get into the physiology, right? Most people say, my low back is a problem and I'm jacked up and I'm messed up and I'm broken. I need you to fix me, right? But that's not true because the low back is just a symptom of what's happening with our thought process. 95% of the time. If there's a car accident or something like that, maybe. But and even the person who's like, well, if I look at an x-ray and there's less disc space, or I look at an MRI and there's less disc space, or there's a bulging disc or whatever, my question is where did that come from? It didn't come from picking the groceries up out of the car. It came because in a stressed out state, when the brain releases stress hormones, we turn off the frontal cortex. When we turn off the frontal cortex, we turn off the tiny little spinal muscles like the multifidi. They stop sensing movement. So since they stop sensing movement, we get bigger muscles that fire to protect and keep the joints from moving well. And when the joints don't move well, then we get less imbibition of the disc, and that's where the disc become an issue. So there's this whole process that starts with mental stress. It has nothing to do, for the most part, with what you see in an MRI.
So that mental stress over time creates the physiological symptoms.
And most people, like me, I shared this before, we have these thought processes that we've had for our entire lives. And I had a conversation with someone yesterday and they were talking about I never really realized how much I could just push down my stress and shove it away. And I'm like, yeah, why do you think you've had digestive issues your entire life? Because you never dealt with your stress of your mind running 24/7. Nobody taught you how to do that.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Right.
And when we get you there, because we're adjusting you and waking up your brain, your back pain will go away. But it's not just the back, it's the brain. And there's 2 parts to it. It's waking up the brain, getting the frontal cortex stronger so we can turn off the stress response and turn down the pain signal. And it's also creating an awareness so that we can change the story that which we told ourselves for our entire lives that we probably didn't even know that we were telling ourselves.
Right.
And that's where people get messed up because they're like, oh, my low back pain, my back's jacked up. And then they tell themselves the story that they're broken. And when you say, I'm broken, I'm jacked up, I'm messed up, negative things, your body responds with that same physiology.
Right, because your brain thinks that's true.
Mm-hmm. And your brain will create the physiology to match the environment that you think that you're in. Mm-hmm. So if your body's broken, then that means everything outside is broken. And so why would I thrive? I would go into safety and protection.
Yeah.
And I would turn up the pain response, and I would turn off digestion, and I would turn off focus, and I would turn off critical thinking, and I would turn off all the skills that make someone successful. Mm-hmm. It starts with the mindset, not with a physical injury.
Right.
We've been taught to believe that, like, when we have symptoms, that's when we should go see someone. Yeah. But I always remind people that, like, long before you had the pain, there was a neurological dysfunction. And I think that the last part that I want to hammer home just real quick is that for anybody who's skeptical of this or like doubtful that this could be true, because we get clients all the time who are like, there's no way, I don't have any stress, everything's fine, blah, 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 blah. We all have stress, period. The blue lights that you're looking at on your computer screen, triggering a stress response. Mm-hmm. Your cell phone triggers a stress response. You being on Instagram triggers a stress response. You scrolling up and down triggers a stress response in your system. You driving in traffic triggers a stress response. You breathing pollution triggers a stress response. EMFs trigger, like I could go down the list.
Eating at a restaurant.
We're bombarded by stress all the time. On your wedding day, your heart is racing. Your body was releasing stress hormones. That is a stress response. So stress is stress is stress. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. So here's what happens. Embryologically, when we're developing, we develop two cells, become one, and then it starts to differentiate.
Keep it slow. Okay.
So embryologically, this is the important part. So this is for the skeptics who are like, there's no science in this. This is just woo-woo, whatever. Embryologically, we are sperm and egg cell. We become one, and then we start to differentiate into a bunch of other cells, become the neural tube. From the neural tube, we get three layers. We get the endoderm, ectoderm, mesoderm. When our endoderm is developing, that is going to develop like the tissue, some of the skin tissue. It's going to develop the organs, the lower digestive system. And ultimately, that level of the nervous system is responsible for safety.
The endoderm is.
The endoderm. And so safety would be like the brainstem, which is protection, which is support, which is security, which is desire. Okay. So these are the emotions associated with the endoderm. And if we lump the emotions and we look at the emotions of support and safety and protection and desire, you could see why financial stress would show up specifically as low back pain. So when we look at developmentally, like what's happening, what area of the body, we're talking really about the lumbosacral plexus, which is the lumbar and the sacrum, and how all of those nerves in there develop. And then we can get into like the low back, the pelvis, etc. So the reason that low back pain can only show up in the form of lack of support or lack of finances or fear of finances, even if you actually have the finances, is because from an embryological developmental perspective, that emotional state at that level of energy that is stored in the endoderm is for protection and safety. So if we don't feel safe and protected, then it would only show up in those tissues, the pelvis, the hips, the low back, the lower digestive system, which is why people who haven't felt supported for their whole lives, chronically constipated, chronic low back pain, I can't figure out why, somebody who's chronically stressed out about their finances, low back pain, hip pain, etc. It's not because they have an injury. It's because this is how God created this magnificent system.
And you would say that's true for kids and babies as well.
100%.
Yeah.
But babies aren't going to necessarily show up that way until way later. So that's the thing is like we're raised to believe that if I don't have any symptoms, I'm healthy. Why would I ever need to go to a chiropractor? I never had back pain before. But I started getting adjusted. And I felt like I could lift more. I felt like I could squat more. I felt more of a sense of purpose. My passion came back. I actually quit my job and did this thing that I was super like stoked on doing a long time ago that everybody told me that I couldn't do. It happens because we're waking up the system, we're getting it out of this protective state, and we're getting it into a more of like a state of thrive. But it's, again, I just stress this point like so hard, that it's developmentally how we were designed, which is why the emotions get stored where they stored. And shoulders are different than neck, than different than low back, than knees, etc. We won't get into all those.
Yeah.
So just remember, first you have to, like, the recap is this basically. So the framework to break this down. So I gave you a little bit of the science, a little bit of the physiology, so you can understand when we have stress, it turns off our frontal cortex. Our frontal cortex is responsible for modulating pain signal. It's responsible for telling our body that's safe or not safe. So if the frontal's turned off, we're going to feel less safe. We're going to feel less supported. We're going to start to tell ourselves a story that we're less supported or things aren't good or whatever it is. So first we have to have an awareness, right? So we have to be aware of the story that we're telling ourselves. We have to be aware that, oh, I didn't actually I'm not jacked up, number one. Two, I didn't hurt my low back wake surfing. It's actually because I was thinking about finances for like literally 24 hours straight. Just like, what do I need to do? How do I do it? And God's trying to wake me up and be like, hey dude, let's send a pain signal there so you can literally stop the thought process that's sabotaging you and get you back into thriving. Number two is identify the false story. So what's the false story? Number three, you got to replace that false story. And then number four, you got to reclaim your physiology. So that's the steps, right? Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No.
Okay, so check it out. If this hit home for you and you know somebody or yourself, you have low back pain, like this is going to be the game changer for you. Use this framework, walk yourself through it. I guarantee you it will change your life. If you want more info or you want this framework, you can message me, follow me on Instagram, message me, tell me that you want the framework on how to break yourself from the cycle of low back pain. I will send it for you. And if you're a chiropractor and you are not someone who's just a general public and you're interested in learning more, like this is what the Profitable Chiro Network is literally all about, is allowing you to be a practitioner that has a better upgraded identity so you can literally transform people's lives. If you got some value out of this, we would love it if you would share it, leave a comment, and we just love you so much, and we'll come at you again next week. Peace.